Good afternoon on World Book Day, and welcome to this week's Thursday 30 session. I'm delighted to have Helen Mee join us from Calibre Audio, who's going to give us a run through of the service, and especially pertinent today being World Book Day. So over to you, Helen, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mary. So I'm going to share my screen. So we did just do a quick practice to make sure it was going to work. And of course, now that I'm trying to do it, it's decided to not play ball. Bear with me. Here we go. So happy World Book Day, everybody. So whilst I am talking to you and sharing my screen, I won't be able to see you. So if for any reason the slides get stuck or anything, Mary or any of you do feel free to chip in and let me know, because I'll just be talking and not realising if there's a problem otherwise. So now I should be sharing my whole screen. I've given my presentation this title, which is Opening Doors to Stories, Calibre Audio for Children and Young People with SEND. And the mission of the charity is to support educators, parents and carers in providing accessible reading experiences that help every child flourish. So I want to tell you a little bit today about who and what Calibre is. I'm not going to give you an audiobook demo because I'm not sure that the sound would share, but I will share a lot about how our audiobooks support comprehension and reading confidence, and then I'll have time for questions at the end. So diving in, who and what is Calibre Audio? So hopefully some of you on the call have heard of us, and perhaps some of you have used us. If not now, maybe in the past. So we've been around quite some time. So we are a national charity, and we were founded in 1974. And we provide an audiobook lending library service to people of all ages who have a print disability. So you might say to me, well, Helen, what's a print disability? It's not a term that's sort of generally used in wider society. So it's not really that helpful in many ways. But I'm here to sort of tell you what it actually is. So it actually encompasses any health condition, whether it's a mental health or a physical health condition, any learning difference or any disability, which impacts on someone's ability to read print or their enjoyment of reading. So it could be that they have difficulty seeing the words on the page. It might be that they have difficulty holding a book and turning the pages, or it could be related to cognition and learning. So it could be a language processing type issue, or it could be to do with concentration or working memory. So those things can be as a direct result of a condition, a health condition, or it could be as a result of treatment that they're receiving for something else. And we have members that join us as children and that stay with us for their whole life. So having been founded in the 70s, we've got young people who came to us, as young adults, perhaps still in education, who are now, in their 60s. So some people have a lifelong journey with audiobooks, and they use it not only for education, but also for reading for pleasure. So members of Calibre can access unlimited audiobooks throughout the year. And so the service is available 24/7 all year round, and members can choose how they access audiobooks. So we have digital streaming options, so via our website or by linking to an Amazon Alexa and using voice command, or by using a download service. So that's an app that can be installed on a smartphone, tablet, or any device with access to the App Store. So a download means that you only have to be connected to the internet whilst you're actually downloading the title to your account, and then you can take it on the move. So it's really flexible. So people can use it on the go, on their commute, on the bus to school, etc. And then finally, we do also offer a USB postal service. So we send out USB sticks in the post. And that's a really popular service with people who have a visual impairment or people who are blind, because they can use a USB player, a simple tactile USB player, which is a speaker, which we recommend the ones that are supplied by the RNIB or by Synaptic. But actually, everybody seems to have technology in their own home that can be used to play their audiobooks if they do choose the USB service. So although it's considered kind of old technology, we still recommend it for families who are perhaps experiencing digital poverty, or they don't have good access to Wi-Fi or broadband in their area. because most people have a USB port on the back of a television set, and most UK homes have a smart TV. So if nothing else, they could play their audiobooks through their television. Okay, I'll move the slides on. So who am I? So my name's Helen. I should have introduced myself up front, but Mary did say a little bit about me. So I'm Director of Communities and Learning at Calibre Audio. I've actually been at Calibre since June 2024, so coming up to 2 years. And I am a mum to 2 neurodivergent young people who both have additional needs, which have caused them challenges at different points in their education and in life. And both of them, although they're very different, have benefited from listening to audiobooks. So I'm really happy to share some personal insights as I go through about their experiences of audiobooks. So this is our flyer that we send out to schools to promote our service. So we provide free audiobooks for children and young adults, as I say, for anyone with a print disability. And we name some common ones on this particular poster to help people understand which it is. And if you've got a smartphone or tablet next to you, you could scan that QR code on the screen and it would take you to our website so that you can find out more about us. So today is World Book Day, and we're also in National Year of Reading. So there's been a huge focus on reading this year so far and for the rest of the year. And it's really important that we acknowledge that actually reading isn't just reading print, it's all sorts of different forms of reading, and it all counts. So this year's campaign recognises that reading doesn't just have to be printed books. It acknowledges that today's readers are discovering their favourite authors, illustrators and creators through all sorts of different means, whether that's graphic novels, comics, ebooks or audiobooks. So this is where we come in as Calibre. We can use our expertise with over 50 years of producing audiobooks to extol the value of audiobooks, because we know firsthand the difference that they can make. So our rallying call to everyone this year in National Year of Reading is that we want to ensure that everyone can participate, that no one gets left behind, and that all accessible formats should be championed. And we should be encouraging young people to read in all of its different forms. So the National Literacy Trust conducts research not only into reading for pleasure, but also audiobook listening habits. So the most recent audio survey was carried out in 2024. And at that time, 2 in 5, so 42.3% of the children who responded had said that they enjoyed listening to audio formats. And helpfully for me, they've also come up with a little infographic in terms of what are some of the benefits of listening to audio. So we know that audiobooks can support well-being. So 1 in 2, so over 50% of children and young people in 24 said that listening to audio had helped them relax or feel better when they were feeling stressed or anxious. We also know that audiobooks can help close the gender gaps in engaging with stories. And so we know that boys' reading habits have fallen behind girls. So we know that the stats are pretty low for all children, but actually boys in particular were reading less and less than before. But the gap was much smaller when we look at audiobook listening than we do for reading. So we also know that audiobooks can play a really key role in inspiring children and young people to read. So again, almost 2 in 5 children, so coming up to 40% of children, said that listening to audio had sparked their interest in reading books in that survey in 2024. And then finally, we know that they widen children's access to books. So we know that audiobooks help remove the barrier of the written word, so children can access stories and content that's aimed for their age group that perhaps they can't read independently. So it really helps to sort of level the playing field in that respect. So why do audiobooks matter for children and young adults with SEND? So what we know is that for children with neurodivergent conditions such as dyslexia, autism, ADHD, anxiety, that falling behind with reading can have really lasting consequences. We know that it doesn't only affect their educational attainment, we know that it can also affect their future employment prospects, and it can have profound social and psychological impacts on those children. And we know that listening can help you to better absorb and understand the material, where your focus can be on the meaning rather than on decoding individual words on the page and holding on to the thread of what you've just read, because you're hearing those words in context. Listening to an audiobook whilst following along in the text can actually help bridge the gap between decoding words and assigning meaning. And here we say for people with dyslexia, because that's where the evidence base is, but we actually think this is true in a lot of different SEND conditions. So receiving information both visually and audibly reinforces word recognition. It helps to improve fluency, it builds vocabulary, and it can support the development of higher level comprehension skills. And the final bullet point is something that really resonates for me, that audiobooks can help ease frustration and boost confidence and make reading more enjoyable for children who've been struggling to keep up with their peers. And I said I'd relate during this presentation to my own personal experience as a parent of 2 neurodivergent young adults. And I can say that this resonates for me. So my youngest child, who's 12 and in year 8, was diagnosed with dyslexia when she was in year 4 at primary school. She'd fallen a long way behind her peers. She desperately wanted to be able to share in the conversations about books that her friends enjoyed. And she just couldn't read independently at the same level as her peers. When we discovered audiobooks, all of a sudden it opened up her world. She could join in with conversations. The first thing that she wanted to get her hands on was the Harry Potter series. She's now reading above her chronological age because audiobooks have just given her that joy of reading and good stories. And so she's actually really invested in becoming a reader. She doesn't find reading easy and she finds it exhausting, but she's really stuck with it. And she will do a mixture of listening to audiobooks and reading print today. So that one for me is really important. And the work that we do in schools, we're often working with groups of children who've got to the end of upper key stage 2 and they've fallen quite significantly behind their peers. And it's really demotivating for them to not be able to access the same content as their classmates. By giving them the audiobook, they can then be a full part of that class and discuss the class reader together. So the science behind listening. So there's been quite a few different papers, but this one in particular that I cite here, it's called Audiobooks or Reading. To Our Brains It Doesn't Matter. It's research that's been published in the Journal of Neuroscience. And what it demonstrates is that our brains process written and spoken stories in remarkably similar ways. So Dr. Fatma Denise published her study that shows that whether or not children read with their eyes or with their ears, so whether they read print independently or listen to an audiobook, the neural pathways that are engaged are fundamentally the same. And we believe this validates that audiobooks as a powerful and legitimate tool for learning and development. And I'd like to show this image because this is from Dr. Denise's paper. In the top 2 images, you can see the areas of the brain that light up on a brain scan when someone is listening to an audiobook. And then the bottom 2 images are the brain when that same person is reading print independently with no audio input. And you can see that the same areas of the brain are lighting up. So bearing out that it is the similar neural pathways that are involved. So why should you be interested in audiobooks this year in National Year of Reading? Well, we got some press in January. So this was an article from The Guardian. It was widely covered in the mainstream media. So the Queen, Queen Camilla, went to the National Year of Reading event and she told that campaign that she believed that audiobook listening counted as reading too. And really fundamentally, the publishing industry who were in attendance at that event decided that, yes, they would come on board with that message and they agreed. And it basically, the summary of this article was to say that listening is a gateway into reading in today's world. So what are the rewards of audiobooks for learners? So I've already talked a little bit about access beyond reading levels. So pupils can engage with stories and content that might be beyond them in terms of their own current reading age and ability. And therefore, it opens up new worlds of learning and imagination. And it exposes them to richer vocabulary, a wider range of vocabulary. Secondly, it encourages them to really think about the rich vocal expression. So much meaning can be conveyed in our tone of voice and how we vocalize these stories. So hearing stories in a range of voices and accents helps children to understand, and then they can also pick up on the nuance that they wouldn't detect when they're trying to decode printed text. And we know that it also unlocks that love of reading. So for struggling, reluctant readers, it might be that audio is the key that transforms their relationship and gets them interested in books and stories and sets them on that path to become a reader, and that be a lifelong love of reading and stories. So this here is the homepage of our Calibre Learning website. So we've launched this site in September 2025. So this is our dedicated schools management portal. So schools can set up an account, and they can then, from that school account, create individual memberships for pupils who have a qualifying print disability. It means the schools can manage those accounts, and they can issue the children with their membership cards and encourage them to not only listen in school, but to listen at home as well. And that service is absolutely free of charge, and those children can access books 24/7 all year round if they choose. So it's really powerful when we're encouraging children to take part in reading challenges, to include listening to audiobooks within that. I just wanted to tell you really quickly about our school's pilot project. So we've been doing research about the impact of pairing audiobooks with print. So obviously that's not possible for all children, but where children have sight and they can see print on the page, what we're advocating is for the use of audiobooks alongside print to help boost reading age. So in our pilot project in 2024, we worked with a number of schools that were local to our offices here in Buckinghamshire, and we asked them to run weekly reading intervention where they use the audiobook alongside the print copy. So those guided reading groups were run in school by school staff, and the commitment was that they would run it over one school term, so a 12-week period initially. And then they also were able to give wider support to the students so that they have the ability to read for pleasure with audiobooks at home. So the results of that study were that all schools that had completed our evaluation agreed that the vast majority of children loved the project and engaged well with books, that they observed that their oral comprehension was improved and their enjoyment of books increased. And in some children, a reading age improvement was observed at the end of that academic year on assessment. So not every school had taken a baseline, so they couldn't objectively measure what the reading age improvement was. In the schools that did do so, the average reading age gain in this small pilot was 8 months, which was pretty impressive for a 12-week pilot programme. But perhaps even more lovely for me was the unexpected outcomes of the pilot project that we saw. So we saw the value of audiobooks for wellbeing and self-regulation. So some of the children, if they were becoming dysregulated in their mainstream classroom, were asking if they could have some time away to go and listen to their audiobook, because they were recognising that it helped to calm them and to regulate them. And then they were coming back into the classroom in a better place to learn. They also observed that the children have more confidence in terms of talking in front of their classmates. So for some of these children, they would never have raised a hand in a literacy lesson. And because they had experienced the audiobook and they'd really understood it, they were really keen to share their thoughts and take a full part in lessons. And then finally, we also did some parental surveys to understand whether children had used audiobooks at home. And one thing that was really lovely was that audiobooks were becoming an important part of the bedtime routine for some children. And some of the most powerful feedback we had related to children who struggled to get to sleep at night. And actually audiobooks were helping to bring bedtime forward. It was helping the child to feel relaxed and rested. Because they were having more hours of sleep, they were coming into school better rested as well. So that was really positive. So what have we done since? So we've expanded this project. So we call it Assisted Reading with Audiobooks. And this school year, we're now running this school in over 30 schools across England. And what we're exploring is whether listening whilst following along in the book reinforces word recognition. And does this paired approach improve reading fluency and build children's vocabulary? Does it support them with the development of higher level comprehension skills? And kind of most importantly for me, does it increase their reading enjoyment? So do the children at the end of the year report reading more frequently? So participating children receive their free Calibre Audio membership. It gives them access to the full collection of titles to enjoy outside of school. So in school, they typically work in small groups, so the titles are selected by the school. They receive a print copy, a personal print copy of the book. But then what's lovely is they have agency and choice to discover the wider collection at home, so that they can play to their own interests. And you know, if they've got particular special interests, they can really dive into that. So what are the benefits of listening to audiobooks? Oh, sorry, it's jumped ahead. What are the benefits of listening to audiobooks as a family at home? I've taken this from the Words for Life website. So it gives children a wider access to different types of stories. It's a more immersive experience. It can inspire creativity. It's a great way to encourage reluctant and less confident readers to grow a love of stories. What it can offer too is an oasis of time to spend time together as a family. So often we're rushing around and we don't sit down together and enjoy something. So something like an audiobook can really help bring us together and to enjoy something together. It can help children to learn new things. They're also really great for being on the go. So if you're a busy family and you don't have time to sit down of an evening together, you could pop it on in the car. So on the journey to school or on the way to a club, then you can listen on the go when you're on the move. And they can also support well-being and help with the development of empathy. So why would you choose Calibre? So I'm going to take you back to that National Literacy Trust survey that I shared. So why wouldn't you give audiobooks a go with your children is my question to you. So we know that 37.5% of children had their interest in reading sparked by first listening to an audiobook. And why would you come to us at Calibre for those? Well, we've got over 21,500 audiobooks within our collection. They span over 70 categories, and approaching 4,000 of those are specifically children and young adult titles, with new titles go into the collection every single week. And from an age range perspective, we're working on building our collection for children and young adults, especially looking at those that reflect disability and diverse cultures, so that we've got a really good selection of titles for children and young people up to their 25th birthday, for whom our service is completely free. So if you want to take the next step, this is how you get in touch. So we've got our website there, it's under the Parents and Carers. It's the same website that you can contact us on if you're an educator. And our membership services team are there on the phones Monday to Friday to take any calls. But if you want to contact me personally, these are my contact details. As I say, I'm the Director of Communities and Learning. Myself and my team would be really happy if you're interested in Calibre Learning for a school to give you a demo of that. Or if you're a parent or carer, you can register and create an account for your young person by scanning the QR code on the leaflet there on the right-hand side of the screen. So I will jump back, sorry. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you and see if there are any questions in the chat.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Helen. Yeah, so as Helen has said, are there any questions that anyone would like to raise? Someone's typed something into the chat there. So Bear says, thank you, thanks a lot. If you do have a question and you'd prefer to unmute your mic and ask it that way, feel free to do so. I think everyone is just a bit stunned by what's on offer. Hi, Emma.
Sorry, I've got a question, Mary.
Yeah.
It's just about sometimes I just wonder with my Calibre, as the audiobook, is the voice AI generated or is it like audible?
So it's all human voices.
Oh,
so
great.
We haven't got any AI in our collection at all. So we can put books into the collection in one of two ways. So when Calibre was created in the 70s, there was no such thing as Audible, and commercial audiobooks weren't a thing. So in the early days, we were creating all our audiobooks ourselves. So our collection was unique. Under copyright law today, we can create an audiobook of any book that's in print where there isn't already an accessible format in Audible in audio format available. So what that essentially means is that sometimes members ask for titles where there is already an audiobook. And what we will do in that instance is we will approach the publisher to see if we can acquire the rights to have it in our collection. So each month we add a percentage of new titles that are Calibre bespoke, so they're narrated by our volunteers. But we also are adding an increasing number of commercial audiobooks, which we either buy or sometimes the publisher is really kind and will donate them to us. And because we're an audio library, we always have multiple licenses, so we always have multiple copies. So one of the frustrations that people might have sometimes if they're a member of a local library is they go to take an audiobook out through their public library and they might not be able to take it out immediately because the library only purchases a single copy in audio. So we have multiple copies, so often hundreds of copies of titles, so that members shouldn't have to experience a delay in order to borrow them from our collection.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Emma, did you have a question or?
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, Helen. You set up a learning account for me here at Charlton Park a few weeks ago. I just wanted to ask, do the students need to be added individually, or is there a way to add multiple students at once?
That's a really good question. So in the short term, the answer is that they added on a 1 pupil per sign-up form. So once you've got your school account, then you add pupils 1 at a time. However, we recognise that actually if you've got lots of students and you're just one person who hasn't got a lot of time, that a bulk upload facility would be helpful. So what we're doing is we're adding that soon. So we're just doing some testing. So we've devised something and it's in the background, but we haven't launched it yet. So hopefully very soon the bulk upload feature will be available. So that would allow educational establishments to download a list, a class list or a CEN register list, whatever it happens to be, from their school management system, and then upload it to Calibre Learning, so that then it creates accounts for all those children in the spreadsheet effectively, rather than you having to enter them on a 1-by-1 basis. But it's not there yet. And that is the only thing that when you're working with a charity, sometimes the features aren't all as spangly as maybe one of the education technology software companies who are in it for profit. But we will respond to any feedback that we have about improvements to the service. So we do our very best to make sure that we make it as seamless and as user-friendly as possible for both schools and for individual members. So yeah, hopefully that's coming very soon, so that which will transform it and make it a lot easier for individuals like yourself, Emma.
Thank
That
you.
sounds great. Yeah, very helpful feature. Francesca in the chat has just asked the question, are vision impairment education services eligible to sign up for the learning service, and can they get audiobooks for pupils who are on their caseloads? Yes,
absolutely. So we welcome that. So when we set up Calibre Learning, what we did is we imported the list of schools on the DFE database onto our back end. So when you get sent an invitation to create an account and you start typing a school name, it will automatically appear in the drop-down list, and then you select the correct school. So obviously some schools have got very similar names. There's lots of St Mary's schools. I think that's the most popular name of a school I've come across on our database so far. The difference is when you work within a local authority or you're running an outreach service, so you're visiting multiple schools and working with pupils either in schools or actually home educated pupils, you wouldn't appear in that DFE list. So then what we need to do is we at Calibre would create you the account on the back end, so that when you get your invitation, you can find your service in the list, because it won't be pre-populated. So if you drop me an email, Francesca, with your sort of office space, if it's a local authority office, or if you're based out of one's VI specialist base, but you go out across multiple sites, however it works in your area, if you give me the postal address for the service, we can add that so that you could then create an account. So what we do is we send an invitation. It has a hyperlink in it that you click on to then create your account. So it is done by invitation only in that respect. The reason we do that is because we have conversations in the way that I'm doing this as a group today, but also on a one-to-one basis so that people understand our eligibility criteria. So sadly, in a mainstream school, staff can't offer our audiobooks to all of their pupils. They do have to have a qualifying print disability. So that's the reason that you can't just create a school or an educational account without having a conversation with us first, because we have to make sure that you understand our eligibility. Obviously, we operate within a legal framework, and we don't want to breach copyright by supplying audiobooks, unfortunately, to children who aren't eligible for our service. So what we work really hard to do is, where schools have got pupils that aren't eligible that want to access audiobooks, we will always work with them to identify sources of either free or low cost audiobooks from other suppliers. So we're really fortunate that most public library services either have BorrowBox or Libby or both, and so we can help get access to free audiobooks, often through a public library service, for those young people that aren't eligible for our specific service.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very, very much, Helen, and thanks everyone for joining this evening. I think we might be at the end of questions, and we're just a minute over 4 o'clock, so perfect timing as well. Thank you again. I'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy evening, and yeah, hope you enjoy going away and listening to some books tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Happy World Book Day, and do get in touch if you'd like further info. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks very much. Bye.